in another piece of news today, we see that the Department of Justice is appointing or is seeking a new director for a cryptocurrency-specific enforcement unit that will investigate primarily, looks like, money laundering, and will work with FinCEN to potentially, we've seen a little bit of censorship and shutting down of things like exchanges that are participating in money laundering. I would love to hear Naomi first on this one, since it's a regulatory and enforcement thing.
Because Naomi, you hate the government. So what's your take on this? It is true. Guilty as charged. I will say that it's kind of weird to me that the DOJ is putting together like a crypto-specific division, because money laundering is already a crime, right? Surely they already have an agency to deal with the crime at hand, and yet they're creating an entire agency around crypto. For me, it just smells like they're targeting crypto. You know, they're increasingly worried about this technology. And so they're just finding ways to zone in and make it about the crypto rather than the underlying crime. Let's remind people it's not a crime to own cryptocurrency or to use cryptocurrency, or, you know, to be involved in the cryptocurrency community or to code and create cryptocurrency projects. And yet the government right now, the narrative from what we're hearing, they make it seem like it is, with all of the rhetoric around the infrastructure bill, where they're potentially, you know, targeting coders, where, you know, we've just got the FATF guidelines yesterday, where again, they're probably targeting coders. Like, it makes it seem like this crypto space is this shady entity. Now they have an entire division at the DOJ dedicated to, you know, enforcing, you know, retaliation against cryptocurrency crimes. It's like, why not just crimes? Why you just focus on the criminal aspect of it rather than the medium? So it kind of infuriates me a little bit. But I'll throw to you, Zach, for your take.
I don't think this is new. I mean, DOJ has been here forever. They've been taking action against all sorts of scammy projects from, I don't know, not as early as 2013, 14, probably earlier. So the fact that they're consolidating their efforts, I don't think it's much of a signal of anything, right? You know, the DOJ, the CFTC, the Treasury Department, they're all going to be involved in this in some capacity, and it makes sense that they're going to focus their efforts on folks who can establish subject matter expertise, right? So for this to be rolled out here, just sort of, I don't know. It's one of these industry maturation stories, right? It's been flying on the radar for so long that that's not the case anymore. Can't be ignored anymore. So we're going to have a special unit within the DOJ to focus on this, even though the DOJ has been focusing on this for a long time. You see press releases from the DOJ all the time saying, DOJ or, settles with crypto scammer XYZ who did XYZ in Ohio, right? Like, these come across our desk with regularity. So the fact that they're sort of coalescing those efforts around a particular unit, not shocking to me. I don't know. That's all I got.
Naomi, go for it.
Well, I just wanted to add that it's a little more insidious than I think people might realize. Like, when the internet came around and people were suddenly like, okay, let's hone in on the internet because that's a tool for crimes. I mean, last year we had the Congress pass as part of the NDAA, the National Cyber Director Act, which basically instituted a cyber czar. No one was talking about it. I think Thomas Massie was like the only person who voted against it. And, he has an unspecified budget. He has a department of at least, 75 people who will be unelected bureaucrats that will remain in power regardless of who is elected into office. So when you have these type of divisions created, it's more than just, getting people together with certain expertise. It ends up being kind of a blank slate, a blank check for them to enforce all kinds of action against this particular tool. And the tool itself is neutral, right? So it just bothers me when they're focusing on the tool and not the criminal aspect of it. So I did just want to mention that, but I'll throw back to you, David.
So I'll make one point, which is that I agree with you for the most part, Naomi. I will say I have a certain grudging acceptance of this relative to the alternative, which is, regulation and crackdowns and enforcement from the SEC or the CFTC. And that's because those, are more likely to target organizations and companies rather than the people who are using them to do nefarious things. B, the DOJ is going to do investigations rather than surveillance. And as we saw with the IRS stuff in the infrastructure bill, surveillance is like the default that a regulator goes to. And, I know this is not how it works, but in my perfect world, we have investigation without surveillance. We have a trade-off there. But in realistic terms, we're going to get both. The other thing that I really noted here was the salary range is between about $130,000 and $180,000 a year. And I'm pulling back the curtain a little bit, but for those who aren't familiar with the crypto space, they're going to have a hard time finding somebody with the expertise that they need to run this entire department at that salary, I think. So keep in mind when we see how this department performs that they were not necessarily going for the highest bidder here. Jen, you want to add on anything?
That's a good point.
I thought the same thing when I saw the salary. I was like, I don't know anyone with the kind of knowledge that you would need to lead this department that would do that for that salary. So good luck to them. But that maybe also indicates the type of person that they're going to get for this role. Maybe it's not going to be the type of person who we want to lead a department like this. So we'll just have to see who takes the position. But Naomi, I agreed a lot with your initial take on the story. It made me think about all the conversations we've had about ransomware. You know, the focus is always on crypto and how it's being used as a tool in these illegal activities and not really on the illegal activities. And so I would love for the narrative to go back to the actual activity that's happening and not the tools that are being used, because at the end of the day, just fiat currency can also be used in all of these crimes. And we're not talking about that.
DOJ more like NGMI. Am I right? Okay. Cool. Let's change gears here. Thanks. Thank you, David. Yes, got it. All right, sweet.